Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How are you doing? It's Russ here from Pokey's Corner, the voice of hardcore boxing. Today we're joined by Carl, making his debut all the way from
Essex.
Essex. Whereabouts in Essex?
Just up the road from Hills. But I'm not 4-0 though.
He's in Ingatstone, in his stock.
Yeah, but I think the headquarters is Brentwood, isn't it?
Yeah, Great Wally.
Yeah.
Brentford, yeah. All right then. What do you want to talk about? The floor's yours, Carl.
I suppose the most recent thing I can think of is your thoughts on the rematch coming up with White and Povetkin, and Hills calling it Rumble on the Rock. What do you think? How do you see the rematch going?
I see Dylan White getting knocked out again because he's not technical. He can't hang with a technical fighter. He just wants to fight brawlers like Chisora. And as regards The Rock, why is Dylan White all of a sudden calling shots? Well, I don't get that. Why don't he come back from Portugal, stop being greedy because he's only over there for tax reasons, come back and fight in UK? Now, the man's not fought for a European title yet, but yet he's dictating fight dates and pay-per-views and I'm the can man and maximum violence, and it's just basically I am off the Dylan White hype train, and I were on it a few years ago, but no. The man
it does seem a bit bizarre because Povetkin's technically the champion now. White's the challenger. Why can't Povetkin just call the shots? I know Hearn done an interview a couple of weeks ago after one of the fights. I think it was the Warrington fight where he announced the change of schedule. He just looked genuinely annoyed that he's got to go over there now to meet up with White to put on this show. I mean, the amount of money it's probably going to cost to bring the whole of the crew over there to do. You know, it does seem weird. I know there's obviously COVID rules going on right now, which means apparently you can't come back to the UK. But it does seem a lot of time and effort that Hearn's going to put into this just to get this rematch over the line. This
is how I look at it, right? They're doing it to cause friction with WBC. Dillian White is there is used as a blocker. Right? That's why he's fighting. He's a blocker. A bit like Ortiz and Usyk. Now, I don't want to go off track here, but if you look at the Usyk situation, if Fury and Joshua don't happen this year, where does that leave Usyk? Because he's basically not going to get his chance to fight Joshua now. He's signed to fight Joyce, isn't he? So Usyk's basically keeping people being kept away from Joshua, like Luis Ortiz was. And I'm not saying Dylan White's being kept away from Joshua because he didn't want to fight him, but he's making a career off the back of Joshua, Dylan White, isn't it? I mean, he's been knocked out by Joshua and Povetkin, 41-year-old. He's not fought for a European. Why is he in his sixth pay-per-view? Why is he dictating where it's at? And he should have just come back to UK and done his 10 days in quarantine. That's it. He could have ticked over in quarantine.
It does seem nuts to me. I mean, I think the reality is, even if he would have beaten Povetkin in August, he still wasn't going to be getting a title shot this year. I don't see any of the big heavyweights fighting this year, Joshua and Fury included. If he would have beaten Povetkin, even if the WBC would have announced their mandatory positions in February, which I heard they were going to do, he's still not getting a title shot off of Fury in 2021.
Now, what you've got now is we're 370 days since Tyson Fury fought Wilder. And I called it a month after. I said, yeah, they've got legal problems. And they have got legal problems. That's why Fury's not fought. Fury's always complaining about being inactive, but he knows why he hasn't fought. Bob Arum can't denote with Al Heyman, and neither can Eddie Hearn. These people are big dogs, Al Heyman and Shelley Finkel. I keep saying it, but people don't listen. But all we've had now for a year is Fury this, Fury that, Fury this, Fury that. In the news every day doing mad stuff. But not doing any fighting, is it?
I'm sick of it. Every time I put on YouTube and see a thumbnail of either Fury or Warren or AJ, and the caption will always read, fight so close. I mean, how much more is there to do? I mean, if it was really happening in June, surely there would be an official announcement now. We know they've both been active and been, well, in camp, so to speak. So, you know, it doesn't really matter if you announce it in June and there's 3 months to go. But surely there should be a press conference now if they really want it to happen in June.
we've already had an announcement out with last June that Tyson Fury came out and said it's done, 2-fight deal. Daniel Kinahan's the man. Thank you, Dan the man. It is on. 2-fight deal signed and sealed. Forward 9 months. They haven't even got a date. They're nowhere near. Frank Warren had to pull a show with Fury on in December against Caballero or Takam, whichever one it were. They had to pull the show, the December 5th show. Frank Warren doesn't kneel to anybody, mate. They had to pull it because they know they're in a big pile of manure.
Well, even if the fight was to happen this year, which I don't think it will, it's a shame that we're potentially going to get a Fury going into that fight that's been inactive since Feb. And he's already been hinting that inactivity isn't going to help fighters. But then at the same time, Fury says, oh, it doesn't matter. I can beat any of these dossers even when I'm not fighting. So which one is it, Fury? Do you need to have fights in order to beat AJ? Or can you be out the ring for as long as you choose to be and still beat him? Choose a side.
Right. When they come out with things like that, it's to keep the name out there because they put on the spot and they just throw something out. Then when they get in the car after, they go, oh, God, I'm going to look like I've contradicted myself. But they're just throwing stuff out there for the sake of it. It's desperation. They need to fight and get on with it. Never mind all this we're going to do WWE and books out and records and all that. He's just about done everything, Tyson, in the last 12 months except fight. Do you know what I mean?
There's only so many videos on YouTube I can watch of Fury. And like I said, any that I see now on YouTube, I don't even watch because they're not going to give me any more news than what they gave me last year. You know, there's no progress that I can see, you know, and there's no way it's happening this year. It's a shame because I don't need them to announce 2 fights. Just announce 1 and we'll watch it. And if it's good, then the public will demand another one. You know, that's all we want. Even if they said, look, we're going to announce it now, it's looking like it's going to be November, December. At least that's more realistic. Don't say it's happening, we're so close. You're not so close. You know, the reality is AJ will probably have another fight before Fury gets in the ring with him because AJ's not going to want to stay inactive, is he?
No, he ain't, mate. So I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that we're going around in circles and that we're being lied to on a daily basis by these con men whose end goal is to get all of our pay-per-view money. They don't care for fighters, these promoters. They don't care for the fans. They care for themselves. That's just the way it goes. If they cared for the fighters, when Michael Watson got injured on a Barry Hearn show against Chris Eubank, Barry Hearn ran for the hills. Right, he did one and left everybody else to sort the mess out. These people do not care. They will say, look, he signed to fight, he was cleared to fight, it's not their problem. That's just the nature of the beast. It's a cold, harsh reality, and I have a little bit of sympathy for them, but they don't do themselves any favour, the Hearns, by what they come out with. But it's the business that they're in. But they can't talk about integrity, going on about the kid, is it the, what's he called now? He moved through the betting. The big lad at snooker. What we call him? Stephen Lee.
Okay, yep.
Barry Hearn were going on about integrity and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Integrity. Boxing fans need to go on Google. Barry Hearn versus Steve Collins. Barry Hearn versus Steve Collins. High court transcripts. Go and click on that on Google. And then tell me what you think about Barry Hearn's integrity. Oh, Mr. Integrity. He put Julian Jackson on against Errol Graham in Spain. Julian Jackson had 1 eyeball and he failed a medical at UK, so they got it on in Spain knowing he was blind in 1 eye. That's what they think about fighters. So people don't need to tell me about the Hearns, mate. I've watched them for years, mate. We all remember Lee Purdy sat in sauna with Barry Hearn, don't we? Well, before he fought Darren Alexander.
They're business people first, which I'm not going to.
There you go, mate. Business
people. But the pay-per-view model that we're being hinted at, that's going to be potentially £40. The Joshua Fury fight on its own, that's not a £40 fight. Why are people so eager to say, I'll pay the £40? We don't even know what the potential chief support or undercard would be yet. If I was told that there's going to be 2 chief supports with world title fights and a decent undercard, £40 isn't out the realms of extortion. But people saying that £40 is good enough to see the fight, that's not. We don't even know which other fighters might fight underneath them.
What a lot of people are missing when they throw stuff out like that this early in the game, because it's like a game of chess, this, right? We'll throw this out and just see fans' reaction. If everybody says, well, we'd pay it, they'll go ahead with it. Well, they'll have what's called analytics, and these analytics are like graphs, and they dictate what these people do. So if the public feeling is, well, we'll pay £40, they'll go with it. Don't forget, I was the one that broke the story about 25 quid, Joshua Ruiz. Me, I was the one who broke that before anybody said it. And everybody said, okay, you're making it up. Oh, all right, well, now, they will do this at 40 quid, trust me. They will. They'll put a stacked card on, won't they? But
it needs to be more than, it needs to be more than a stacked card, mate. It needs to, you can have some women fights in there if they're high quality, not the last sort of stuff we've seen at the back end of 2020 because that was garbage. But there needs to be some serious world title fights in this. Not like a Coley or anything like that. Some exciting people to watch. I don't want to watch. I just literally watched up to the 11th round of Parker and Junior Farr. It was on this morning. That was just a 12-round hug match. I don't know the result. I literally had to start this.
I know. You've just tuned in here as they were going to scorecards. But what I will say is I've heard a little whisper that Conor Benn's saying he'll fight Even Ishian, and Eddie Hearn's saying, oh, that could be a pay-per-view, but maybe not a 25-pounder. I mean, could you imagine if they put that on pay-per-view?
Why is Conor Benn even being discussed as pay-per-view?
He's an accident waiting to happen. There's a lot of people at the moment jumping on Conor Benn bandwagon, right? I'm not. Might be a nice kid. He might be getting most out of what his career and training hard and getting his head down. Who's his best 3 wins to even be in the same conversation as some, even to be thought about as a pay-per-view? Who's his best 3 wins? He hasn't got a decent win. Formella. What? Now, he hasn't fought for a British title yet. Same as Josh Kelly. Same as Anthony Hard. There's no shortcuts to success. None.
But why hasn't he fought for those belts? I mean, is it
hard fights?
What's the
hard
shame?
Fights. Hard fights again. Chris Jenkins is an hard fight. That's an hard fight for Conor Benn. Hard fight.
But then if he's not fighting, let's say he fights for that British title against someone like that and loses, what's the shame in that? Would he prefer to go up to the world stage and just be demolished?
Yeah, well, that's what they want to do because they know they're going to get paid more. That's the end game, money. But along the way, they're going to spin us that many stories about why they're not fighting this person, why they're not fighting that person. And it just goes on and on and on. It just makes my job a little bit interesting, make it easier because I don't have to sit here thinking what I can talk about because it's all in front of your eyeballs, isn't it?
Well, the fights have, since obviously last March and the pandemic, the fights have been more interesting in the sense that, Hearn has said that, they've got to take these fights now because this is the way the market is. But it's a shame in a way because under normal circumstances, those fighters would never have been put in those positions. We saw a couple of, not all of the fights last year that you put on, you could say were 50-50, but some of those guys were just getting blasted out. And it's a shame because we could talk about the Kelly fight. In normal circumstances, would he really have been put in that position where there were crowds there, they'd be able to fight 3 times a year? He wouldn't be fighting that guy. Yeah.
Let me just give you a statistic here, Carl. 2012, right? Dave Caldwell and Eddie Hearn put a show on. Bellew against McIntosh, Danny McIntosh. Do you remember it?
Not off the top of my head, that one, I've got to say.
All right, well, 84-9-1, right? That were all the home fighters on the left-hand side of the box, right? Added up together. Forward 9 year, 72-6-2. So that's pretty similar, isn't it? And then you've got 2012 away fighters, 61 wins. 2021, 65 wins for away fighters. So it's still same. It isn't any better. But Eddie's saying we've upped our game and this and that. You want Eddie? You haven't got it all here. It's all there. Just put Eddie Hearn, box rec, into Google and go and look at what he was doing 9-10 years ago and compare it to now. And is it any better? The products, maybe a little bit more watered down, even worse, but actual pay-per-view fights are shocking. For example, I know I like to go on about this, but Carl Froch against Lucian Bute, Carl Froch against Andre Ward, they were non-pay-per-view. Carl Froch, Glenn Johnson, non-pay-per-view, all on Sky. Do you see where I'm coming from? Bute against Carl Froch, non-pay-per-view. And the list goes on and on, doesn't it? And now what we got? Dylan White against Povetkin, 1 and 2, pay-per-view. What's going on?
But the White Povetkin thing just baffles me, because before the fight back in August, we were never told that there was going to be a rematch. You know, if White wins that fight, Povetkin's pushed aside and he probably retires. You know, we were told that the winner fights Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. We were told that there'd be the WBC mandatory. You know, But like I said, if White would have won that fight, he would have been, yes, the mandatory. He'd just be waiting around again. The WBC don't want White as their champion. I don't think that is what he's grasped. There's a way that you have to go about yourself in the media, and the reality is you have to be a bit, let's say, politically correct and a company man. Dylan White doesn't want to be that. So the only way he's getting a shot at the WBC is a voluntary. The WBC don't want him as their champion. So White, he's siloed himself into that one belt, and he's never fought for any other belts. You know, we know that he should have. Sorry, mate, you first.
No, yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Yeah, go on. But no, what you're missing, the point here. This is when I jumped off the Dylan White hype train. He knocked £5 million back fighting for 4 belts, didn't he, at Wembley against Joshua in a rematch that were bad blood. Now, once he did that, that's it. I'm out of game with him. I've gone after him since then, haven't I?
Yeah, well,
why not? At least I'm willing to say, Dylan White, I've gone after you since then, and I've said it as I see it. You're a shithouse, mate, with no balls. Non-top fighter.
I think most people, even if you're a fan of White, will say that was a terrible decision.
Fan of White? Who's a fan of Dylan White? Where are these big fans? You're not a big ticket seller.
I don't blame the bloke for making as much money as he has, but why what if he did want to wait around for the WBC as much as he still does? Why not in the meantime go after a Commonwealth or go after a European? Is it a pride thing? Is it like, I can't fight for anything unless it's the WBC? Or is it a case of, we can't do pay-per-view if it's for a Commonwealth or a European? It's got to be one of those. Because why not fight for those along the way until you get the shot?
You don't hear Dylan White calling out Joe Joyce, do you, or Caballero?
He's not going to fight Joe Joyce.
You know what I mean? All right, then moving on from the adventures of Tintin. Are Sky in on it with Eddie Hearn? Is Ed Robinson at Sky? Does he get a pass because he's not in the public eye as much as Bean and all the rest of them? He's the guy behind the scenes. But he's the guy making all the decisions and signing off on stuff with Bean. So does Ed Robinson get a pass? I don't think he should.
None of them get a pass. None of them get a pass. The shows, there's been individual fights that have been good on their Saturday night free shows, but the shows overall have been trash. The one last week with Kelly, I think it was, there was some entertaining fights, but it was a bit of a stinker from top to bottom overall. You know, the Warrington card wasn't particularly great, but the ones they done at the back end of 2020, and I'm not just talking about Fight Camp, there were a couple that had a couple of women fighters on, which some of the fighters, the women fighters, they are elite, but their opponents, it's just getting painful to watch because there seems to be such a gap in skill between the women fighters. You know, I mean, some of the people that they dragged over from some of these South American countries, they just look like glorified road sweepers. You know, I don't know where they're getting this talent from.
Yeah. All right then. Is it about trainers, managers and promoters, or is it about the fighters? Have we got certain people who are trainers, you know, Adam Smith, Eddie Hearn, Ben Davidson, Coldwell, Johnny Nelson, you know, these people are doing Sunday sermons every day, aren't they? But they're doing them on same channels, aren't they? Because it's a bit clicky, isn't it? Is it about these people? Why do I have to see Dave Coldwell or Ben Davidson, Gareth A. Davis on my TV when I click it on every day? all the cross boxing channels. Why do I have to see these people? They're not promoters. But yeah, I'm not seeing the fighters.
We're not just getting Sunday sermons. We're now getting Monday mass.
Monday mass.
on
two seconds. Oh, go on, sorry.
Okay. But on top of that, we're now getting in between rounds on a Saturday night show what Caldwell thinks and how the fight's going. I mean,
tweets. You mean tweets?
No, there was a show a few weeks back where they do it sometimes with who's the guy that commentates with Macklin until Bean steps in? Who's the other guy? He does the first couple of undercard fights and they bring in Bean for like the chief support in the main event.
Chris Lloyd. Might be.
So when Bean comes in to start doing the chief support commentary, they'll go to him in between rounds to ask him what his scorecard is. But they went to Caldwell during one of the fights in the last couple of weeks to say how he thinks it's going. But the tweets on top of that as well from obviously, yours truly, Bellew and all that. But back in sort of 2013, 2014 with Froch, can you tell me McCracken was doing all of these interviews that they're doing now with all these coaches and trainers? A lot of these fighters, where they don't have a massive personality, you can say Dubois is one of them, a lot of their team is doing a lot of the talking for them, which I think it's why it's very, very hard for them to get a solid fan base. Because, all right, you can say, Smith, Marshall, those sort of guys, they don't do a lot of interviews, but their skill speaks for themselves and they can get away with it because they're naturally gifted boxers. But a lot of these other guys, like Dubois, he's not the biggest personality in front of the camera. Unfortunately, boxing's one of those sports. It's the only sport where you have to be able to promote yourself, even if you've got a promoter. It's not right, but it's how it is. The casuals want to see a personality. They don't just want to see a great fighter.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Yeah, but like I said, I'm fed up with these these Monday morning quarterback experts coming on and
they're everywhere. What does Gareth A. Davis know about boxing? Someone tell me what experience he's had.
Well, what I want to know is Ben Davidson. Who's he done anything with scratch from? Oh, Caldwell. Oh.
That guy's appearing on every single video. These people analysing how the fight went, what they would have done differently. I don't understand coaches remarking about other coaches' tactics. It doesn't seem right to me.
Ben Davidson, right, got with Tyson Fury undefeated. He's still undefeated. Billy Joe, he got with him undefeated. He's still undefeated. And they left him, right? But there's nobody said anything about that. But yet he's coming out saying, "Oh, we're mates and all this and that, blah blah blah." If they left him, couldn't have been up to much.
Yeah, right? I mean he's got Taylor as well at the moment, so he's riding on the back of obviously world champions that got the belts before he joined the team.
There you go.
He could be a good trainer. He could be a good trainer, and I'm sure he's competent to a degree. But like you've said before, he's not had someone from scratch that's gone through the ranks.
Okay, then let me ask you this one: was Josh Taylor a world champion when Ben Davidson got in?
He was already a world champion, yes.
Right. Was Fury?
Yes.
Was Saunders?
Yes.
So the heavy lifting's being done by Shane McGuigan, Saunders, Jimmy Tibbs, and Mark Tibbs, and Tyson Fury, Peter Fury. So they've done all the heavy lifting, and then other people are getting the fruits of their labour. Fair enough, I understand that. That's the nature of the beast. But is Tyson, Billy Joe, and Josh Taylor, are they all MTK?
I believe so.
Right. So Ben Davidson's MTK head trainer, isn't he? Right. So that's where we're at with them, aren't we? So you can see what's going on there, can't you? It's a pattern, isn't it? Well, you've got to go with him now because you're with MTK. I'm not sure if Josh Taylor's with MTK. I think he is, but I'm not sure. I know the other two are, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, if Davidson takes Taylor now to another level, then you've got to say fair play. I mean, he can't. It's not his fault that Taylor won a world title before he jumped on the bandwagon. I can accept that. But if he's not going to improve before he was a champion, let's say when he fought Pro Grey, then what's he doing with him? But if he takes him to another level, I'll give him his due. But yeah, it would be nice to see him find someone, as an amateur and take him through the ranks. But I just don't think he's going to want to be in it for the long run in that respect.
Now, listen, when you've been working with cream and you're getting decent money, why do you want to go messing about with novices? But we'll bring this adventure to an end. But I just want to point out this: nobody's saying Ben Davison ain't going to be a good trainer. He's one for the future, but he's too young to be taking on world champions. Because tail's going to be wagging dog. They're not going to respect somebody like that. Do you know what I mean? So it's not a jolly up boxing. But anyway, moving on. Let's have a look. Let's have a look what we've got. Could you just have a look on your phone and see if Parker's beat?
Yeah, I've got box rec up. Let's have a look.
He got cut, didn't he? 11th.
I know Farr had a bad cut over his left eye, but I think that was done with the elbow. Parker's won
on points.
Well, yeah, they were definitely the 12th when I left it. Yeah, UD.
You unanimous decision. See, Joseph Parker can't get Junior Farr out of there. So what's he going to do with any of the top guys?
Well, yeah, I mean, if those two were the best New Zealand's got to offer, I don't think Fury or AJ are going to have any issues with them. But, you know, they're not going to move up in rankings. Parker's still going to be number 3. So he's not getting a shot anytime soon anyway.
Yeah.
I just think at the moment, the heavyweight division is just at a complete standstill.
Yeah. What do you think's next for Cheeseman, Fowler, Fitzgerald, and maybe Josh Kelly? Do you think they all should fight at 154?
I think so. I think there'll be some good fights. I mean, Cheeseman looked pretty much done and dusted at fight camp. But technically, he's still a young man. But he's got a lot of miles on the clock. But yeah, it would be good to see him fight at that weight division, though, because there are still some good fights for him.
He's only 25, Ted Cheeseman.
He looked 35. He's had some hard fights. Fair play to him, but he's had some hard fights.
He once spoke to me at a show, Ted Cheeseman, and I swear to God, he sounded like he was underwater. I said to my mate, he sounded like he's underwater, ain't Cheeseman?
I know he won that fight back in on fight camp, but he took some absolute punishment.
What do you think about all... Go on, sorry.
No, go on, mate, you first.
What do you think about all these people, ex-boxers or boxers, current boxers, that are currently managing people?
I don't like it.
Tony Bellew, Dave Allen, who's not got a driving licence, by the way, so how he's going to get his fighters to show, I don't know. Tony Bellew, Dave Allen, who else is there? Dylan White.
Mm-hmm.
And they all don't want to work with Frank Warren. Why is that? Because they want to stay loyal to Eddie Hearn. I can understand that.
The Dillian White one, for me, I don't like the most because he's a fighter as well. I mean, the Belly one, couldn't really care. I mean, he's retired. He's not coming back. But the Dillian White one, why is he trying to train people while he's still hunting down for a world championship?
European championship.
Well, we know he's not fighting for that. But, you know, it just seems like he's trying to do too many things at once. He's got a huge team around him. He's got another coach with him now for the Povetkin fight. How many more people does he need in his team? He's got those stooges that follow him around in those matching tracksuits. And now he's got about 3 trainers. I mean, what is Dylan White's end goal here? I mean, is he going to get any better? Or I think we're not going to see him probably any better than what he was against Parker. So what does he want to do? Keep bringing these new trainers in. What can they do with Dillian White?
A bit late to teach him how to box and walk back foot, isn't it?
I think he's going to be 33 next year. When realistically is he going to get a title shot? You know, he's not going to get any better now, is he?
Listen, mate, Carl. Do you know when you're offered to fight for the heavyweight championship of the world at Wembley in a fight with somebody that you've beaten amateurs and they've knocked you out in pros? So it's a heavyweight championship of the world, 4 belts, right? 90,000 people. 5 million guaranteed, 5.5 million on the upside if they hit so many numbers. And you knock that back. Could you imagine Henry Cooper knocking Ali fight back?
All he had to do was take it, even if he didn't like the rematch clause. win the fight and then beat him again if you're that confident.
There's always an excuse in there with Dylan White. There's always, hit me with a lucky punch or rematch clause and all that. Andy Ruiz squeezed another 2 million out of his rematch clause with Joshua, and Dylan could have sorted that out. Look, you know the script when you fight the champion. You've got to beat him twice to get out of the contract, haven't you? And you're getting millions anyway. So what would be the problem? Just take the fight. Because you know what? Dylan White might never get a world title shot now. He might be too old when he gets one. He might be past it.
Even if he does get beat in the rematch, if he beats Joshua the first time, he's become world champion, you know. Yeah. So you'd still be in a better position you are now. He's just chasing a ghost belt. That WBC, like I said, unless he gets a voluntary, and he's not getting that from Fury, how does he think he's going to get a world title shot? This trinket belt that he's got with the WBC, that means nothing. It's just to keep him sweet. Right. You know, Deontay Wilder is ranked #1 in the WBC. Can someone tell me how on earth that works? Even though the ranking system is a joke, no one can explain that. We've got someone that was knocked about for 7 rounds a year ago and hasn't fought since. How is he #1? The ranking system stinks.
It always has, hasn't it? It needs government to come in and sort it all out and govern it instead of promoters. Do you remember not so long ago, British Boxing Border Control came out and they were complaining that nobody was fighting for British titles. They were going for these trinket belts. But these same Boxing Border Control people, they keep sanctioning fights for these trinket belts. So they can't have it both ways, can they? Do you know what I mean?
I can't stand the trinket belts, these Asians, these intercontinentals. It's these sort of belts make it even harder for casual fans to get on board with boxing, because when you try and explain boxing to someone who's not into it as much as we are, or someone that wants to sort of come away from UFC and look at boxing, when you explain to them the weight divisions, the governing bodies, the belts, they look at you like you've got 3 heads. They don't understand it. And when you tell them as well that the best fighters in the divisions aren't fighting each other, they honestly don't understand why. I mean, we understand why, the politics, but they don't, especially when it's happening all the time in MMA and UFC. You know, they need to cut a lot of fat off boxing. I think some of the weight divisions can go. The governing bodies aren't going anywhere. Those 4 are not going anywhere. But I think the belts and the weight divisions, some of those need to be cut down.
Yeah, you're probably right there, mate. You're probably right. What do you think's going to happen with Hughie Fury next?
There's so many good fights for him. I just think he's in that position with Sky where, you know, he doesn't throw himself about on Twitter, Instagram, or do a lot of work. Mainly it's done by Peter, but Peter interviews well, so that's not an issue with me. There's some great fights for him. I mean, I hope he's active this year. I mean, even if it's with no crowds, you know, I mean, you've spoke about it before about him fighting White. We know that's probably not going to happen. I think that would be a good fight, though. Would he fight Joyce? I think he would. Yeah. Not sure Joyce would take the fight, because obviously Joyce is on the brink of fighting Usyk. But there's some really good fights for him at heavyweight. You know, I mean, that's another guy that, you know, he's got a lot of miles on the clock for the age that he is. You know, he's still a very young man, but you know, he's had some long fights in his career. You know, he's not taken a beating, but he's certainly put some miles on the clock, let's just say.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? What about Daniel Dubois? What do you think is going to happen with him now, Carl?
Well, we're here in April. I thought it was originally going to be a lot longer than that, the back end of 2021. But I've seen one video since the fight with Joyce where he's talking about his iron coming back. It looks a hell of a lot better than when I last seen him, that's for sure. But we're here in April. I've got the feeling, though, this is what is so frustrating. When he started, he was getting put against guys that he could just blow out in a couple of rounds and not learn much, right? By Warren. The problem is they're going to bring him back against someone in this comeback fight against a similar opponent. They're not going to want to bring him back against someone where it could go 12 rounds. Yeah. And then what's he going to learn from that again? They're going to want to bring him back against someone that he can blast out in a couple of rounds, so there's no damage to the eye, which I get. But the reality is he's been doing all those fights previously, which is why he wasn't prepped for the Joyce fight. He could have won that fight if he would have been matched correctly coming up. You know, Joyce wasn't doing anything special in that fight. As well as he boxed, he wasn't doing anything special. And it's just a shame with Dubois because there's a lot of potential there. But again, he's just been given, you know, road sweepers and, you know, taxi drivers to fight for the first sort of 10, 12 fights. And what's he actually learned other than I can knock you out?
Yeah, I thought he was still doing all right in fight until he got the injury.
That was bad. I wish he would have been pulled out before. It wasn't fair for him to have taken the decision into his own hand and get down on one knee. I think that was bang out of order by the cornermen. I get that there was titles on the line and you want to give your guy as much of a chance as possible, but that eye looked horrendous. If he goes blind in that eye, you know, there's going to be people, you know, there's not only his sights on the line, but, you know, there's people that are going to be questioned after that. I mean, when do you call it a day, you know, for your fighter? Yeah. I mean, I think if it would have been stopped a few rounds before, I don't think anyone really would have said that was a bad decision.
Yeah, there's that as well, isn't there? There's that as well. What next do you think for Liam Williams?
There could be loads of good fights for Liam Williams. I mean, how inactive has he been now? Been a while, hasn't it?
Fights Andrade next, doesn't he, Liam Williams?
That's a good fight, but I'll be amazed if he wins that.
I will.
That's a serious fight.
I hope he does, but I think it's an hard one for him.
Yeah, fair play for him for taking it. I mean, again, I think this sort of what's been going on in the last 12 months, fighters are taking fights that they would take normally, but just I don't believe at this time. But look, he's got a chance, but I think he doesn't win that fight. But I hope he does because, you know, I think there's some talent there and he's been active for a while. So I want to see him back in the ring and do something special.
What about Josh Warrington? What next for Josh Warrington?
Warrington is just... I don't know if you've seen, there was a recent video, there's a short, like 3-minute one he done with Sky. I don't know if it was done a couple of days after the fight or if it was done this week. He's talking about rematching Lara. And if he doesn't win, he's retiring. I mean, dude, stay away from that fella. Do not go near him. If you seriously want to stay in boxing for now, just take some gimme fights. Just don't do it. The only thing he's got to gain by doing the rematch is his pride, because there's no IBF, there's no belts. The money's not going to be amazing. You know, just don't do it. His speech looked really, really slurred. I've never seen him speak like that. Normally he comes across very well in interviews. I hope he's just recovering and he gets back to some normal. I hope he starts talking normally soon. But I mean, if that's how he's going to be talking now after that fight, that concerns me.
Talking like Dave Allen.
It wasn't looking great, mate. I really hope he doesn't look. Sometimes you just come across a fighter who has got your style inside and out and knows you. Just because he can't beat Lara doesn't mean to say that he can't stay in boxing and potentially go on to fight for a world title in a few years. You know, you don't have to beat, even though it's always going to be like an asterisk next to that guy's name. You don't have to go back in and beat that guy. You know, especially if it's as conclusive as that. If it was like a 12-round points loss, I would say, okay, fine. Why not? But you got put on the canvas twice and you got put down hard.
Well, when I look at the situation with Warrington, if I say, for instance, if I were giving some advice, I'd say stay away from Lara, wait for crowds to come back and just rinse it in Leeds and just keep getting paid.
Do some gimme fights. Other fighters been fighting people that they've just been knockover jobs just to tick over. And I'd rather him have done that when he joined Hearn originally after Frank, just to stay active. I mean, I'm not going to blame the inactivity for the loss because the loss was pretty conclusive. Like I said, it wasn't like he was getting necessarily outskilled the whole time. He got put down hard, but the inactivity was a concern. I think the other guy had fought 5 times since Warrington had fought last. I mean, that pretty much summed it up. You know, they just need to stay more busy, even if they are little gimme fights. It's better than nothing. At least we're seeing them in the ring.
Yeah. What are your predictions for Canelo Wildren fight, Carl?
Canelo's going to win that. Yeah. I can't see an upset, to be honest. And to be honest, I want Canelo to win it. So we're in the best possible position for the Billy Joe fight to happen, because there's so many times these fights don't happen because of excuses. We don't need a banana skin right now. If we want that fight to happen, then obviously he's got to win, and he's got to win conclusively as well. So I'm not saying he would, but you just don't want to give Billy Joe any more excuses than he could possibly start throwing for the fight not to happen.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be a great fight. And he said in an interview recently that he wants to become undisputed at super middle. So he's got to fight him either way.
Yeah. Yeah, all right then. Well, is there anything you'd like to say or add before you go? Have you got any social media handles? Twitter or anything? Facebook, Insta?
I've just got a TikTok profile.
TikTok, what's that? That's for kids,
it's similar. Yeah, it's similar to Instagram. You post a lot of short videos on there. You can put pictures and stuff up there. Similar to Instagram, but it's mainly for videos. But I'm not on anything else at the moment. What about yourself? You're on the main ones, aren't you?
YouTube. There's somebody set an Instagram one up. They're doing an Instagram one in Porky's Corner. I don't even know what proper title is, and I don't even think I've pushed it on here, but he puts little clips out from my videos. But no, I don't run any of it. I did my word on Twitter, and I'm good. I'm not on it, but I'm banned for life. But you can get involved in beef, can't you? And as soon as you rejoin, they all grass you up anyway, don't they? So I ain't got enough time. I don't have enough time.
Twitter's never really done it for me. There's just trolls everywhere. You can't have a debate with people anymore on there. If they don't agree with you, then you're this and that. So you just got to try and stay away from places like that.
Yeah, that's right. So
I think YouTube, I think, is the best one though. What you're doing at the moment, you're going to be reaching the most people you can. I think.
Yeah, YouTube, but then again, people can set accounts up. You see, camera near blocks them. If they start getting lippy in the comment section or putting vile stuff on, they get blocked. But a lot of people, if they put vile stuff on, it goes into what we call held for review. So it don't go on anyway. It don't go on the timeline. They might see it on theirs, but it don't go on the main one. And then I get up in the morning and I look at them all and I read every single one of vile ones. And they're not gone out there, so it doesn't really bother me that much. But when they get blocked, they set another account up.
These people have way too much time on their hands. I mean, and out of all of those comments you've read, how many of them have got a proper picture of themselves?
None.
Well, there we go. There we go. It says all you need to know.
So other than that, I'm all right. I'm in a good place. I'm going to take my dog out over Crookhill Wood now and get him sludged up and let him have a shit on 18th hole at golf course, because I'm banned from there, aren't I? So I'll take my dog and let him have a turn out.
Oh, it's a nice day for it. Weather's pretty nice. Don't blame you.
Yeah, I've got my scruffs on. I've got my old. I found these in shed. What are they?
Nice.
Nike shorts. Look at, they've got mud on them. I just use them for taking dog out, because wellies, my feet always tend to hurt when I've been taking him out at fields and that. But I'll take him out, get him sludged up, then jump in bath with him. And then I'm probably just going to get ready for boxing tonight. Probably I might watch a couple of videos this afternoon, a couple of films. I'm going to watch James Bond Thunderball this afternoon.
I haven't seen that in years.
I like that film.
That's a good one. I've not seen that in years. I do like a bit of Bond. Is that your favourite one?
Yeah, I've got it. Like sometimes every now and then I put it on. It takes me back to my childhood. Looking at how the aeroplane, is it a Vulcan, it comes into the sea and all them kind of things. It's escapism, innit? And sometimes I just have to escape boxing and then come back the next day stronger. So, but yeah, so I'm in a good place. So, all right then, Carl. Well, I'll get this out today, Saturday. It's now 11:45, so I'll get this out for about 12:30. How's that?
Sounds good. Cheers for having us, mate.
I'm not going to bother jazzing it up or not, because if we put it out tomorrow or Monday jazzed up, it's talking about stuff that's happened before. There's already stuff gone on tonight, hasn't there? So I just wanted to get get this out today. Get Terry's video out today that I did a couple of days ago. And then start fresh Sunday, Monday, and on. Because there's some changes to the channel next week from Wednesday, so but you'll hear about it on
Sounds good.
Probably Tuesday, I think. So, all right.
Oh, mate, cool.
Thank you very much. We'll have you on again sometime. I've got there's a lot wanted to come on now, so I'm trying to keep everybody happy in that because I only like to do one a day if I can.
Yeah, of course, no worries. Cheers, mate.
All right, Carl. Take care. All the best, mate.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.